Well, welcome to the only show recorded in the video store of your mind. It's a spooky nightmare wrapped inside a fuzzy, nostalgic dream. This is Night Shift Video. I am a horrible host. My name is James, and today I am joined by my co-host.
I'm Cody.
Each week, we review a scary movie, and then we share real spooky stories and paranormal mysteries that relate to the film. Before we get into it, just subscribe. You can subscribe. You can like. You can do all the internet things. If you leave us any kind of review whatsoever, we are going to read the review on the show. And yeah, that really helps us out just to get discovered and stuff like that. Okay. It is summer.
Woo! I'm a teacher, so I love it.
Well, and
Let's
I don't know, man. I felt like maybe it was just with COVID-19 being such a big part of our spring, or just there was a really rough start to the year. Not that it's gotten any better, but I just feel like there was a really long wait for summer.
Yes. I think everybody, no matter what your job was, no matter what your title is, no matter where you come from, I think everybody was waiting for just some, like that feeling of like, there's a I don't like, even when I was in like the private sector and stuff, there was a change to summer.
Oh,
like,
always.
People take vacations and things slow down. I was in sales for 2 years, and like sales were always lower in summer because you couldn't get a hold of this person, couldn't get a hold of like summer is different for everybody.
Yep.
And I think everybody was looking for it.
Yep.
But especially my household with 2 teachers. we were waiting. We couldn't it couldn't come soon enough.
So summer's here, and what we wanted to do to kick off this summer. So this is actually this is our first episode back from our break. And while we've been recording things, you don't need to know our production schedule, but like we record things ahead of time and stuff, just so like there's not dead weeks and things like that. But we've also kind of taken a break from this format of episode. And so like, even though like this isn't technically the same time that it's airing, like I feel like I'm coming back from a break.
Oh yeah, shaking off the rust.
Oh my God. But it feels so good. It feels good to be back. So we wanted to kick off season 3 here, our summer season. This season 3 will be basically from now until the end of November. Then we'll take December off again, kick back in 2021 for season 4. But we wanted to kick off this one with the best way to celebrate summer when it comes to horror movies, and that is summer camp movies.
Whoa, let's go. A, I love summer camp. B, I love horror, which means I love summer camp movies.
Oh my God.
I love summer camp movies.
Love them so much. And what we're getting to do for the first time on this show is we're going through all of the sleepaway camps.
Let's go.
So all July, you're going to be getting Sleepaway Camp 1, 2, and 3, and then return to Sleepaway Camp at the end of the month. And I'm super excited.
And I will tell you, I am a Sleepaway Camp noob.
Yep.
This is my christening. And so I know that I'm 30 years old, never seen these movies. And it's one of those things that like I feel like I owe it to myself. Maybe, our friends that I get to interact with on a pretty daily basis on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so I've heard for, I don't know, the last several years since we've been doing this, that Sleepaway Camp is the summer camp movie. Mm-hmm. And so let's go. Ready to fix that.
Fix it. So to celebrate summer camp movies, I wanted to read a couple kind of summer campy, like campfire stories. I tried to find ones that wouldn't come off as like creepypasta-esque, but like these are like actual urban legends that you might hear if you were the character in a summer camp movie, and you always sit around and you talk about just like Friday the 13th. There was this boy, his name was Jason, and blah, 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 blah. Like that's what the basis for the stories that I was trying to find were.
I like that.
And I found a few, and we're gonna share a couple each week leading into our Sleepaway Camp movies. Cool. And the first one is this one right here. So in 1876, I almost said 1816. 1876, a 10-year-old boy bludgeoned his mother and father to death while they slept after his mother had told him that she was going to have a baby. When the housemaid found the boy sitting in his parents' blood the next day, he told her that someone had come into the house in the middle of the night and murdered his parents while he hid under his own bed. No one knows what happened to the boy after this, but a campsite now sits on the land that his parents used to own. Campers and hikers who stay at the site have said that sometimes they hear a child's laughter. Others have seen the ghosts of the mother and father that he murdered, drifting through the woods, holding hands.
Oh, that's good.
It's pretty good, right?
You know where that is? Because I don't want to go.
I don't have the location for that one. That one's one of those like urban legends lost to time. It's probably been told 100 different times, 100 different places, but it's pretty good.
It's good. It's good. I like it. I'm, it's one of those things like I am a father of a son. And so like, it's hard not when you hear those stories, like a lot of times there's like a lot of mixed emotion. Sometimes you think like, oh, what if that happens to me or my son or my family? And sometimes you think about it the opposite way, which maybe is a little dark, but that's what we do here. And like, it's like, oh God, like my son he's 18 months old, but he's already said some like weird stuff, like. He doesn't know
I think this is a thing. Maybe this is just like a dude thing. Maybe mothers also experience this. I don't know. I think this is something that probably a lot of parents experience, but it's one of those like taboo topics that like you're like not supposed to talk about, or like it feels weird to talk about. But like I've had those thoughts. Of, like, what if my 7-year-old just starts stabbing? Like,
well, I was just thinking, like, okay, maybe not. Yeah, I mean, like we can go there. I was just thinking, like the other day, and like anybody who's a parent of a toddler, like I'm sure that this is not atypical, but like my son, I walked into the room and he's just like staring up at the corner.
Oh yeah.
And like he gets the stares a lot. Like he'll just stare at a lot of different stuff. He's just staring. I was like, hey. I
just wish everyone who is listening just knew the Calvi stare.
I know.
Like, oh, God.
He gets it from his mom's side of the family. But so, like, he was staring. I was like, hey, buddy, what are you looking at? And then, like, my dog, I have a toy poodle who thinks that she's, like, the German Shepherd protector. Like she's a little eager beaver. And she like starts barking where he's staring. I was like, what is happening? Like, it's just like a nondescript, like noon on a Tuesday. Like, stop. What is happening? I don't know. Anyway, it's got off the beaten path a little bit.
No,
but
it's good.
I just, those thoughts cross my mind every now and then.
Yeah. Let's get into your camp story.
Yeah, I got a little camp story here. The year 1971. I don't know why I look that way. There's nothing over there. So I'll look this way. A camp counselor at Camp Nook Creek started a game of hide and seek with his campers. He sent the campers to hide and made himself the seeker. After an hour or two, the counselor had found all the kids except one, James Lacey, but called time on the game because it was getting late. He yelled for the kids to return to the bunks for a count. Everyone except James. The counselor called his colleagues, and they searched for him all night, but James was nowhere to be seen. Once a police search finished, the camp was closed for the rest of the summer and reopened 3 years later. It's a classic movie scenario. Same counselor returned and was setting up at the creek for a canoe lesson for the new campers. Upon overturning one of the canoes, he was hit with a putrid smell. Underneath the canoe, he found the remains of James. Scratch marks lined the inside of the boat where the child had tried to get free once he became trapped. That is so good. Also, because I worked at camp.
Sure.
Dude, there's like a couple things there, like classic 70s. I feel like the tropes of like Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Like those things exist for a reason. Like
yes.
They're real. Counselors weren't as good. And even at certain camps today, like there's a ton of freedom given to teens and stuff.
Right.
Dude, it's a good one. The claw marks is
spooky.
Oh,
it's spooky.
Oh, it's a bad feeling.
All right, so a couple movies. Obviously, every week this month are going to be summer camp horror movies, but a couple movies to start you off on the summer camp path if you haven't. For Friday the 13th, anything almost. I mean,
Yes.
probably don't go as far as like Jason Goes to Hell. That's probably a little much, but like
Also,
definitely the first 4.
Yeah, be careful with like the reboots.
Yeah.
Just because they're not. I don't know. They're a product of their times.
Mhm.
Like go OG.
Yeah.
Go OG.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, which sounds silly to say. but-
Yeah. Other great summer camp movies, Cheerleader Camp, which we haven't seen, but I would like to. And then also our film of the week, Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp.
So obviously we've already recorded I'll let you know, we've already recorded the review. So you
Okay.
got to watch Sleepaway Camp for the
did.
first time.
Yep.
I guess I shouldn't let you say much because I don't want to spoil anything that's coming in the because
Yeah.
you were so fresh.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
It's that's going to be worth a listen.
Yep.
Because of these ties that I have to summer camp. So let me just give a little backstory situation here. I had separation anxiety from my parents as a child. I tried to go to summer camp once as a child. Got there on Sunday afternoon, left Tuesday morning. Cried for 48 hours straight. And literally I was the first kid they ever sent home because because I'm an idiot. But then I worked at a summer camp for 3 years and loved it. I wish like I would have had more time for that.
Yeah.
And so like, there's these things like I look at summer camp a little different. Like sometimes I look at it from a staffer perspective. Also, I had this really, really, really poor, strict camp because we couldn't afford to be loosey-goosey with the rules. Like one incident would have put us under for insurance purposes. And so like to see these things and hear these stories from other, like, especially 4-H. I've never been to 4-H camp. I don't know what happens at 4-H camp. All my friends who go, it's just a party on like 300 acres. It's just like,
I didn't even know 4-H had a camp.
Oh yeah, it's a big thing in Ohio. And like all my friends went to 4-H camp and like it's just like, oh yeah, you can go off into the woods for like 3 hours and nobody's watching. It's like, wait, what? Like that's how you get these James situations. You know what I mean? But I feel like I had a lot to say about the first one.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back with our feature presentation.
Now available on home video. And now our feature presentation.
Before we get into our movie, if anybody out there wants to help out the show, please tell a friend. That's the best way that we've seen growth on the show. And, when more people are tuning in, we are able to do more things. You can also join us on Patreon at patreon.com/nightshiftvideo. That's NITESHIFTVIDEO. There you'll be able to make your monthly donations, which will give you access to our Discord channel, Let's Watch audio commentary things that we do, and all kinds of other physical goodies. Thanks so much. All right. This week's movie, Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp.
Now, before we start any of it, I just want to preface, we did an amazing job. I'm patting myself on the back.
Yeah, go ahead.
And Josh.
Go ahead.
That we didn't allow you anything. And you were able to go into Sleepaway Camp 100% blind.
Yeah, I feel like this is a movie we've been talking about for years.
Yes.
And honestly, like it comes around to a time when we could watch it. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Well, obviously, it's the only time it worked out. But like we would get somewhere and then like somebody would have to drop out. Somebody else couldn't be here or I couldn't be here.
Yeah.
And we switch. It seems like everybody else has watched this movie but me.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so, and like, honestly, it kind of became a thing where like, it's not hard to avoid information about this movie. It's not like
you have to seek it out.
Yeah. And so I just didn't. And, and well, like, I don't even know what to say.
Are you glad that you didn't?
Yeah. Yes.
I think that
100%.
The fact that you were able to go in so pure.
Yes.
Because I will say I didn't even really get to go in pure just because of doing what I do and researching movies for the podcast, stuff like that. If you were on like as many like freaking horror movie Facebook groups and forums and all that stuff that I am, you would have at least seen like the payoff image as like a meme. Like it's very well known, like in the very niche group of those people.
One, I will say, like, I think I've heard like this movie has so many one-liners, and
Yeah.
I've heard them,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what the context was. It's kind of like, I don't know. It happened to me all the time, like growing up. And like I'd walk into the cafeteria and somebody'd like say a punchline and be like, yeah, like I knew the movie. Like,
Right.
everybody once saw the movie except for me. And
Yeah.
and so like for this, like I knew the one-liners, like I was familiar.
Sure.
Not quotable, but like when I heard them, I recognized them. But the great thing is a lot of the one-liners don't have context to spoiler.
Not really.
And
It's
so
just
they're just funny.
funny,
They're
clever writing.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. And so I don't want to give too much away, but I loved it. It was a great watch. We were watching with another guy and he said, "Okay, after watching it, what did you think?" And like I feel like it's hard, and like I know that it's ironic to say a fresh take because this is obviously an old movie.
Right.
But for me it felt fresh.
yeah.
And like you get so many cliches, and for this one, like there's just as much like funny comedy, like summer camp cliches as there are horror cliches.
Right.
And so like you get the like, oh gosh, I want to say fat camp, but it's not called fat camp.
Heavyweights.
Heavyweights. You get heavyweights feel. You get, I know like I'm treading in dangerous ground, but you get like Lindsay Lohan's Parent Trap feel. Like you get some of these like I worked for a summer camp for 3 years. We were broke as all get out. And like, we didn't have half of those things, but
Right.
even still some of those cliches of like the kid trying to get into the cafeteria at night just to
Right.
get a snack.
Yeah.
Like we had that all the time. And like the counselors bending rules and doing that. Like that's summer camp. That's, you got 18-year-olds looking after like 12-year-olds. Like,
Yeah.
and you're going to get tomfoolery. You're going to get bad decisions. You're going to get hilarious quotes like eat shit and live. Like, it's great, man. Like the cast, I think some of the casting was a little funny. Like we got grown men and children all playing softball, but like,
Right.
it's great. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And some good kills too.
Yeah. Yeah. I would even venture to say that I think this movie was more influential than maybe a lot of people would give it credit. I think that things, especially the teen slasher who done it in the 90s, which obviously Scream.
Yep.
But like, I think that even when you look at some things like Urban Legend and I Know What You Did Last Summer, movies like that, I still think there's a spirit of Sleepaway Camp in those films.
Sure.
Because like those types of 90s slashers, they just always have this like whodunit that like the core slasher doesn't have.
Yes.
There's never a whodunit with Michael Myers.
Yeah.
You're not guessing who it is.
Exactly.
Like the same thing with Jason Voorhees. I mean, I guess a little bit for the first movie, but you think it's Jason the whole time,
Right.
and then in the second movie, hey, guess what? Now it is Jason.
Yeah.
And then like obviously Freddy.
For the next 12, it's Jason.
For Freddy, there's never a whodunit. Like
Yep.
people are getting murdered in their sleep. Like,
Yep.
And so like I just think that this has that, and I'm not sure how many early 80s slashers have the whodunit part.
For sure.
There's a couple, but even like Black Christmas, which has just a little bit, it doesn't have it quite as strong as this, where like even like whenever there's that moment whenever Angela sneaks off with old Boo, and she's like, oh, I thought you were the killer. Like that's straight out of Scream.
Yep.
Like that's 80% of what the movie Scream is. Yep. It's like, oh my God, you scared me. I thought you were the killer. Like,
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that it's a pretty influential flick and maybe doesn't always get accredited that way. So first, let's talk about the cover here. So I have two covers to show.
Okay.
This is the original cover.
I was going to say, I've seen that one.
Yes, this is the one that would have been the movie poster at the time. Also is the original VHS cover. So, you know, we got the bloody knife going through the canvas sneaker. There is a little note written at the top.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have the text from that.
Ooh.
It says, I wrote it down. Where'd it go? Oh shit, did I lose it? Here it is. Dear Mom and Dad, I have been at Sleepaway Camp for almost 3 weeks now, and I'm getting very scared. All the kids are getting ... and then it trails off into this ombre and you can't see. It looks like the next word is probably killed, but you really can't make it out.
Yeah.
So that's the most famous one. But then also the more recent one is
Just like a Blu-ray like release.
yeah, this was from who are they called? Scream Factory.
Oh, okay.
And so this was their art, which that's kind of what they do.
Okay.
Is they go back through to all these old movies and they give them like the hand-drawn photographic look.
Yeah.
So this cover's still good and it probably captures the cult classic spirit of the movie better. But I like the original design for what it is as well.
Well, and I would say that style is very saturated right now. That's very Stranger Things. That's very like when you get like a graphic tee, there's a lot of options with like that style. And it's not that it's not
the one that I'm wearing kind of
is
like
very
that.
I would say that it's not bad.
Right.
But it's not like that classic of like the knife through the tennis shoe, which was a big part of our conversation of like watching their shoes. Like it was recent enough where some of those shoes were really cool.
They had really cool sneakers in this movie, and a lot of them have gotten like cool re-releases recently because other people think they're cool too.
Yeah,
there's good shoes. Good shoes.
Good shoes.
All right, back in the box. Welcome to Camp Arawak, where teenage boys and girls learn to experience the joys of nature as well as each other. But when those happy campers begin to die in a series of horrible accidents, they discover that someone or something has turned their summer of fun into a vacation to dismember.
Stop it.
I love it. As a dark secret return from the camp's past, or will an unspeakable horror end the seasons forever? You okay there, big guy?
Yeah. Sorry, it just spraying. I don't know what happened. Got a little excited over here.
Oh god,
sorry.
So good. All right, so this movie is written and directed by Robert Hiltzik. Hiltzik is how that is pronounced.
Okay.
So he has directed 2 movies.
Okay.
This and then another one that I'll tell you about in just a little bit.
Okay.
It's not one that you've seen.
I was gonna say, it doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah. So this guy he is a lawyer now in New York City.
Oh.
And doesn't make movies like he didn't make the sequels because there's Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3.
Yeah. Oh.
He didn't make either of those, wasn't involved whatsoever. And he basically made Sleepaway Camp and then just kind of like pieced out from the movie business. And then in 2000, this guy, Jeff Hayes, who made a fan site called sleepawaycampmovies.com.
Okay. A little on the nose, but that's okay.
He gets in touch with Robert Hiltzik and says, hey, Anchor Bay Productions or whatever it's called, Anchor Bay Entertainment is making a DVD for Sleepaway Camp. And they've been trying to get a hold of you. I've been trying to find you. Like, would you do a commentary? And he's just like, what's a commentary?
Oh my gosh. What?
Why are people still watching that movie? What's a commentary? I'm just a lawyer. Like, I'm not even in the business. I don't know what's going on.
This is the scene in Oh Brother Where Art Thou when the Soggy Bottom Boys record and then they show up and like people go bananas.
Right. Right.
What?
It's basically happened to that dude in real life.
That's cool. Strange, but cool. I mean, like, I don't know.
So
it's
what
wild.
he ended up doing is in 2004 he wrote and directed a third sequel, so a 4th movie.
Okay.
It's called Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Okay.
And it came out in 2008. It was him kind of doing the Halloween reboot thing before that was even a thing, where he's like, I didn't have anything to do with those other movies.
Yeah.
We're just making this for fun. So like he got Felissa Rose in it again.
Okay.
And like, cause she's not in 2 or 3.
Oh, okay.
She's only in the first one.
Oh,
so like he brought
wow.
her back as Angela and like it was sort of like a reunion. It was a very big kind of glorified, well, it was really just a fan project.
Yeah.
And
it
like,
was a victory lap.
yeah. And really just for the fans of the movie.
Sure.
Like, I haven't seen it yet. I plan to watch it within this series. So
let's go.
We'll be watching it within the next couple weeks.
Love it. Love it.
So this movie was made in 1983
Okay.
on a budget of $350,000.
That is incredible. That's incredible. I will say, one of the first things we all talked about was no star. Not that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
You guys had mentioned like the old like camp director
Mel, yeah.
was in things.
Yeah. But even then, I don't think he was necessarily ever like a leading man.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely like side characters and stuff.
So if any of these guys went on to do something, this was clearly their starting ground. And then also for those who don't know about like campgrounds, like if you thought like, oh, they're shooting all these on different scenes or different locations, but like for a summer camp, like you really do get all of those locations. Like, I mean, if you rented that, I don't know. We've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. I still don't know how long a movie takes to shoot.
Sure.
But assuming that you got to rent out a camp for a week, which would, for the camp that I worked at, would have only cost you maybe a couple grand.
Yeah.
You would have gotten 200 acres for a week.
They rented out the exact same summer camp that Robert Hertzig went to whenever he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
so he probably also just had a connection.
Yep.
And they probably got it on the down low pretty cheap.
And most camps, especially if it's out of season, dude, that's free money.
That's
so
the
like
thing.
Say, hey, we can do programming from May to end of July. Then kids got to go back to school. You can have it pick a month.
Right.
And it's yours.
You can basically pay whatever you want because otherwise we're not getting that
money.
And
we'll take it, and it's not, it's just icing on the cake. Like,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's what they ended up having to do. They filmed in the fall, even though the movie's clearly set in the summer.
Yeah.
And I already told you this, but one of the interesting things was they had to kind of do the opposite of what Carpenter had to do with Halloween, because it's pretty well known that in Halloween, they were filming in LA and they didn't have leaves and like
deciduous forests.
You didn't have that, Midwestern Halloween feel that Halloween have. So they had to bring in fake leaves and like all this stuff. Well, these guys kind of had to do the same thing. They went and like painted all the brown leaves green.
That's crazy. Like, did they do that like in post, or did they have like a crew
physically
probably
like
spray? I would imagine like a spray,
because there's not, even though it's at a camp and there are forest moments, there's not a lot that happens in the forest during the day. Yeah. So a lot of times when you see the forest, it's at night, which you probably won't even notice.
Yeah.
But like there's specifically one scene, and especially now that I know they painted it green, you can tell that like the leaves on the ground are the exact same shade as the pine needles.
Same. Yeah. So, because you guys told me that before.
Right, yeah.
And it was just like, yes, this is all
seeing the
one
exact same green
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. That's cool though. I mean,
it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
And knowing that took for
350,000.
I mean, that's like the paint's going to be a big chunk of that.
Yeah.
Like, environmentally friendly paint that you can just blow wherever you want, or maybe
80s.
not. It's
Who
the
knows?
80s.
Who knows?
They're still picking out latex.
Actually, that whole forest just died.
It's gone. It was flammable. It accidentally, got on fire.
So box office. Well, would also include at the time what would have been the drive-in circuit.
Okay.
This thing brought in $11 million.
That is awesome. And I will say, obviously not a huge number.
Right.
But when you look at,
you compare that to Halloween, it's nothing.
Yeah. But when you look at ratio of spent to return on investment, like spent to gain, like, and I guarantee all of those actors, maybe except for the old guy who had been in stuff, like all of them took a straight up check. Like, hey, we'll pay you for 1 month and this many scenes, and you get some ridiculously lowball figure. That's what like famous. If you don't know the story, Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yep.
The only one to take a what's it called when you get money for like each player or each cell,
like royalties.
The only person to take a royalty check was Alec Guinness. And he didn't believe that the movie was going to be a success.
Yeah. He just knew that's what you're supposed to do.
If it succeeded, he was going to make his estate is still raking in the cash.
Yeah.
And every single other actor learned from their mistake and Empire Strikes
Yeah,
Back.
for the
So
other
like
movies.
I would imagine he was maybe one who was like, oh no, I'm gonna do something.
yeah,
Every other kid or every other parent's kid,
Right.
kid's parent. I think I said that backwards. They're gonna let. Oh yeah, I'll take a couple hundred, couple grand.
Well,
whatever.
let me just go ahead and jump straight in to my night shift awards, my shifties,
Ooh,
because I think that you're going to need to know this one.
nifty
So
shifties.
Mike Kellen, who plays Mel,
okay.
actually, who Mel is the guy who is the camp director. It also seems like he actually owns it,
Yeah.
financially as well. He actually died very shortly after filming.
Oh.
He never got to see the movie release.
Oh really?
Yep. He had cancer and he was actually extremely sick during the filming of Sleepaway Camp. And passed away just a couple months after they wrapped up.
That's really disappointing.
Yeah.
He is a staple figure in this.
He's my number one shifty, and it's
Yeah.
not just out of like a respect for the dead kind of thing. Like
No.
he nails this character so well. This just like gruff, shady.
But also frugal as all get out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like he knows. So this is a real thing. Every summer camp, I don't care if you are raking in celebrity skits or not, like liability for a camp, one case will set any camp under.
Yeah.
And so like the idea where he keeps returning to this conversation of like our camp would literally, they didn't tell us this. If you knew the camp that I worked for, I don't want to throw, well, it's not a camp anymore. So I guess I can throw them under the bus. They like the staff who was returning used to tell people like, if you get hurt, go off site
Right.
and say you were on your own and like have your insurance pay for it. Like,
Yeah.
don't let this be like a camp's expense.
Right.
So like the fact that he returns to that conversation constantly is like, yeah, that was my experience. Like on
Yeah.
staff helping run a camp for many years. That was the conversation. And I loved it. Like he was so committed to that idea and his role absolutely would be. I loved it.
Yeah.
That's really sad
Yeah.
that he didn't get to see this. And like maybe in 83, this still, even if he did get to see it, maybe it didn't get the love that it does
Right.
now.
It probably took some time. Yeah.
But still, I mean, like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
a great role.
He nails it. He definitely nails it. My next one goes out to Robert Earl Jones, father of James Earl Jones, who makes a shocking appearance in this movie as Ben, who was like the assistant to the head chef, who quickly becomes the head chef after the head chef meets his demise.
And he's gone. Like, you think, you're like, oh, now you're the head chef. We're going to see you a lot. He's just gone.
we don't see him again.
As soon as he gets his promotion, he's gone. Like,
we don't
oh.
see him or any of the kitchen crew. We're
No.
done with the kitchen now. We never need to see them again.
All we needed was a little bit of,
Yeah.
pedophilia.
But honestly, like
Yikes.
James Earl Jones, Ben's voice, obviously, Robert Earl Jones is amazing, and like that incredible freaking baritone that just like takes you out of your own existence. But also, like, I actually really enjoyed his facial reactions for the small amount of time that he's on screen. Like, I love his laugh at the pedophile jokes, and then I also love his face when he finds the pedophile
Oh, yeah.
and his body, and it's amazing. Next, I'm going to go out to Desiree Gould, who plays Aunt Martha. Angela! I don't know what notes she would have ever received for this part or what she was thinking, but it's amazing. It's so over the top. It's so ridiculous. It's fantastic.
So I know that this is awful to say about a human being. I know someone in real life.
Oh boy.
Like this. I went to high school with her daughter, and literally they were both foot doctors. So like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure being a foot doctor is hard. I don't know, but like, she would do that. Like on senior night, like they like did the Wizard of Oz skip like down like the middle of the field. Like, it's just bizarre. And like, as soon as I saw this character, it was like, oh, this person. And like, there's an ounce of batshit crazy, which you see later.
Yep.
But like, good to kind of tie that in early. If she was too normal, you would be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This lady did this?
Right.
And like, No, you gotta have
You
some.
had
crazy.
to know in the beginning that there was something off there. So obviously the next one is probably the biggest one. It's Felissa Rose as Angela. Obviously, she has become a huge part of the horror community and continues to support, small independent filmmakers and all this kind of stuff. I mean, she probably single-handedly helps fund some small conventions because she shows up and she's just amazing. And then I also wanted to give a little something to Jonathan Tiersten, who is Ricky.
Oh, yeah.
I like Ricky a lot. The delivery of Eat Shit and Live
Love it.
is spot on. It's so good. And then, that little straw cowboy hat he comes up with at the dance is pretty fantastic.
I would say Ricky. So clearly there's this divide between older kids who are it really feels like they cast mostly grown men, and maybe they're supposed to be counselors, but when I was a camp counselor, I didn't look like that, and then and then you have kids. They clearly cast children.
They are child
This
actors. All pretty much all of the actual kid campers are under 18.
Yeah, I mean
which at this time was rare.
If you go to even Disney now, 30-year-olds playing 18-year-olds,
Right.
no, that's in this movie not.
Yeah.
And I feel
I think Felissa Rose, if I'm not mistaken, was actually 13 when they filmed.
really.
Yeah.
And I feel like for that he does a great job. I mean he has the edge. He kind of has that Benny the Jet but more mouthy feel to it.
Right.
And you want to like him.
Yeah.
And
you
there's
want to root for him.
And there's parts throughout the movie. This came out in '83. I'm not worried about spoilers. There are times where you're bouncing between 2 or 3 characters who are the killer, and there were times where it's oh yeah, it's him.
Yeah.
And they clearly angle certain lines and certain scenes to that. But even when he's just approaching the older, when they're throwing the water balloons off the roof and Mel's holding him back. I know that kid or have been that kid at times. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It was a great role.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's rate it on a scary scale. So 1 to 5, 5 being the scariest. Kind of where do you think this one falls?
I would say I would go a 1 to 5. So not 0 to 5. 1 to 5.
Yep.
I would go 1.5 to 2.
Yeah.
It's not scary. I think kind of going off. If a 1, my wife could watch it. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Because both of us specifically have wives who hate
horror movies. This would be one I think aside from a scene or two, I think my wife would watch.
Yeah.
Really, the thing that would probably get her would be the vulgarity, which I love because it has that Stand By Me feel.
Yeah.
Which is that's how me and my friends in junior high talk to each other. It's not appropriate.
Had my childhood, that's really what it was.
I'm not justifying it, but I'm also not apologizing for it. It was what it was. It's in the past. I have grown as a human being, but that was the language we used. That was the conversation we used. Those were the gimmicks and the gestures we used. That would probably be the one turn off. The guy boiling. There were some great scenes.
Shocking for. We talked about this when we were watching it. Shocking that this doesn't have any of the Masters of Gore, the Greg Nicoteros or Tom Savini's or Stuart Gordon's attached to it, and yet the effects are really good.
And I would say the effects are great, and if they would have added more gore, I think not gore porn, but if they would have added a little bit more. I probably
get it more into Friday the 13th.
I probably would have bumped that number up a little bit.
Yeah.
But because the arrow through the neck really doesn't give me any blood.
Yep. And it happens so fast.
Going back to her, she could have handled that.
Yeah.
But if it would have stuck, if we would have froze, if there would have been a blast of red, corn syrup, that would have been a different conversation. So scariness, I give it 1.5 to 2, depending how squeamish you are. Probably more close to the 1.5.
Cool. I think that's fair. So let's go ahead and talk just general thoughts for you. Obviously, you got to see the twist, so you can get there.
Yep.
I will say, I think at least me and Josh in the room definitely were watching you at the end more than we were watching the film. I wish I would have set up a camera.
That would have been great. Yeah. I wish I could see my own reaction, because there's the reaction to like her face. Then there's the reaction to the penis. And then there's the reaction to like everything culminating. Like, because they hit you with that flashback of Aunt crazy batshit.
Yeah.
And then like, so
Aunt
you're
Martha.
piecing things together that they don't give you. This isn't like an Ocean's 11 situation where like you're really given a lot.
Yes.
And so like there was a scene there, if you're really listening, and like this is not a movie where you're really should be listening to dialogue, but there was one line where like I can't remember his name, but old boyfriend, like they're kissy, and he says like I'm sorry for what I heard, like I heard about your family, or I'm sorry what happened to you, or whatever.
Which kind of ties it to the very opening sequence of we see like this boating accident. But even then, it's not very clear.
They don't tie those in.
What happens? Like, did someone die? Did they just get hurt? If people died, how many people died? Like, we don't really know those details.
So my initial reaction, because I went in blind, I think this could add a little bit, is like I thought that accident happened. It went for sale. Somebody opened a new camp.
Yeah.
And well, I guess that is what happened. I don't know. Like, but it was like, no. That is what happened.
That's pretty much what happened.
I thought it was backwards. I thought we were flashing back. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
I thought we were flashing back. So like that was, so like when I saw the for sale sign,
one of the kills that happened.
That was the end.
Yeah.
And so now we're going back to the beginning of the summer. So like that was, I'm sorry. I got those bawards in my head.
see what you mean.
So like, hopefully for podcasters,
I was gonna say hopefully they do. I guess.
Yeah, they probably like, who is this guy? So to clarify, I thought the opening sequence was the end of the movie,
right?
And then 5 minutes in, we're going to the beginning and we're playing the summer out. And so later, when I heard that line, it was like, oh, now I'm caught up to. This is now a revenge story, but nothing led you to believe that they took the and I did think like, oh, I thought just the boy survived. Like it's a thinking man's game for a low budget bad dialogue movie.
Are the first person to ever describe Sleepaway Camp as a thinking man's film.
Because I remember like I was still like an hour ago. Like I was like, oh, I thought the little boy survived. I thought the little girl died. But like, oh, clearly I was wrong. Or maybe the little boy. And I had the thought like maybe the little boy has grown up and he's the killer. You know what I mean? Like
he's still like living there.
He is Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
And we're living in his world.
Yeah.
Nope. Aunt Crazy.
Aunt Martha, man,
turned she turned a boy into a girl, which is like, if a person wants to make that decision for themselves, I'm more on board with.
I was gonna say it's totally weird watching this movie in a more modern age, where like obviously transgenderism is much more common today than it would have been in 1983. What's interesting, I think, and great, is that this movie has definitely been adopted by the trans and LGBTQ plus community as like good. Like they don't like shit on it because of what it did. Like obviously they were working with pieces that they had at the time, but you could kind of look at it and be like, oh, it's also saying that if you're transgender, maybe you're a psycho killer.
Well, and I think that was the conversation that like at the end it was just like, wait. And I will stand beside I'm not pinning this statement onto any life circumstance.
Sure.
But I will say as children, like not to get into current events, but I've seen some videos of children being exposed to certain things that are happening in our world. And it's like, you know what? Like that kid's going to experience a different trauma than an adult,
right? Who
has lived life circumstances. Like it's just going to be different. There's going to be more confusion. There's going to be more ignorance. And so like, and I like that conversation of like, oh, well, because this happened to you, you're crazy and you're a monster. And like, but also like the fact that the aunt chose for that. Like there's just so much. And it's
also a forced situation.
I'm
versus
seeing this movie
voluntary discovery.
way later, and if my dad was sitting in a theater in college watching this, my experience is way different. And so like these things running through my head, but like at the end, like it scrambled my brain, like scrambled eggs. Like it was just
It was amazing. It was amazing.
And like all these dialogues are happening at the same time, and then there's just there
is so much talk. Anytime Felissa Rose is in anything, there's so much talk about the penis shot, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this on YouTube. If not, I guess this video might get taken down. But
it's fake. Can we flag it? It's fake. I think it's fake.
It's fake. It's definitely. I'm not going to show it, but
we're dwelling on it more.
I know, it's making it way worse. So essentially, they had made like a fake mask of her that they put on a male actor.
Oh,
and then even his, I believe, like actual below the waist was also a prosthetic. And so like they. Because a lot of people will freeze frame on that scene and maybe look into it a little more than anyone expected them to. It's like, if you do that, a little dick looks real fucked up. I think she lovingly refers to it as like her mangled dick scene or something like that.
I'll let her leave that conversation to rest. Like that's and again like. That I can't. I just like getting into that shot. Okay, this is the payoff. Here's the big twist. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Oh my god, wild.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, so kind of wrap up your final thoughts here. Okay. What do you think you would do for your percentage?
Yeah.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up for sure.
Yeah.
100% thumbs up. That's not my percentage. That's like it's a must see. Yes, thumbs up. And so like kind of in my mind, a must see is over 70. Like
sure.
I'm a teacher. If you're passing, you're getting over 70, right? That's like the C line. So definitely thumbs up. Not real scary. I will say, there are, depending on how sensitive you are to 2020 culture.
Yeah.
This movie may not be for you. And I hope that
it's certainly not politically correct.
And I will say, of all the interactions that I've ever had on our Instagram listeners and people calling in, I think we're all on those pages. We've never really encountered somebody who wasn't aware of that. I think we're all pretty educated, and like this was made in a different time. And if it was made now, they would have different conversations.
Right.
But there are some that are, there are different things that are a little bit harder to work around in 2020 and kind of where we are in kind of that cultural conversation. But I'm going to even for it is low budget, but there's some great dialogue. There's some great one-liners. There is some pretty good kills, some very good practical effects.
Yeah.
Not a ton. Like if you're looking for a Friday the 13th, it's almost there. If you're looking for like a Sandlot horror, it's pretty much there. Mm-hmm. Certainly not something that you would show your 9-year-old. Like Sandlot, yes. Sleepaway Camp, not quite. But it's in that same vein. Like
I think it does broach that like really coming of age moment though, of like maybe middle school depending on your child's maturity level, or maybe it's like a high school thing, like if they're into horror and like they have already seen some of the leading steps. I feel like this is a deeper cut than say Halloween or Friday the 13th, and because of that they let it go just a little step further with some of that stuff than maybe they even did in Friday the 13th, which sounds crazy because like Friday the 13th gets real trashy. Yep. But this even feels a little bit trashier, like in a good way. Yeah.
There are also like, I also feel like it could spur some good conversation.
Sure.
Like if you're watching this with your teenage child, you could look and say, hey, look at this cook. This stuff happens in life.
That's
like,
true.
Be ready. know what you're gonna do.
Yep.
Not to get too far off.
I'm not gonna blame you if this happens and you make him dump a boiling pot of water on himself.
Boom.
That's his fault.
That's
Fuck that
his.
guy.
Yes. Screw him. Give him 4 foot vats of water.
Yeah,
Like,
just
why
fucking
not?
tar and feather that bitch.
So I'm gonna give it like a 78%. I think
Okay.
that's like
good.
a nice. It's right in that realm of like, I would say it's a must see.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that it's for everybody.
Yes.
But I would say, like, if you enjoy those 80s slashers, if you enjoy those Stand By Me's, things like that, this is right in the same vein. And it's really, really good. There's some endearing characters. I can't believe that it's taking me 30 years of my life plus 7 to see this movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. Loved
Yep.
it.
Cool, man. I'm right there with you. It is a thumbs up for sure. Love the movie. I actually loved it more this time than the last time I watched it, and would be my 3rd time seeing the original Sleepaway Camp. I think for me, this is becoming a like summer defining flick.
If I can interrupt you there, I would say, like, I will watch this multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think each time I watch it, I'm going to fall more in love with it.
Yeah.
I think, like,
I could see this being like if you had the right crew and like a place to do events one day whenever live events can happen again. I could see this being a great like you go with your friends into the woods and like use a portable projector and like watch this at a camp and like just kick off your summer that way.
Yep.
Like it's
absolutely
that good.
It's not what I loved about it is like Friday the 13th, we've talked about it a lot of like kind of throwing it under the bus of like, hey, this is a porn director who figured out how to do the horror thing. And like, this isn't that. It kind of, it dots so many of those I's, but it doesn't cross the T's where like it threads a different needle.
Yep.
And it's it has its different moments, but like it's great. It's and so like 78% now, ask me in 3 years, it'll probably be higher.
Yeah, so it's currently a 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. Chicken nugget scale for me, I'm gonna throw it down. I'm gonna put it at an 85.
Nice.
And again, that's with my 3rd viewing, liking it more and more each time.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have more Sleepaway Camp coming at you
I'm ready.
in the coming weeks.
I'm ready.
So there's that to look forward to.
Boom, baby.
Any other final thoughts on how you feel about it? I think that maybe it's worth discussing. Just like if you have a friend who hasn't seen it, like that, because I felt this like initiation moment
100%.
with you watching this film. It was like you were a fucking like frat pledge, and it's like, oh no, we're gonna get you to see this, and we're gonna see your reaction at the end. It's gonna be amazing. Like so just kind of what's from that point of view, like how do you feel about it?
Yes, it falls in. So any movie that does this like end twist well, but also has like it's not just the end twist, it's quotable, it's memorable. Like I love those movies. Yeah. Where like I can throw a movie that I would throw into this would be if you haven't seen it, it's kind of obscure. It's Denzel Washington's Fallen. Where there's this like it's kind of this possession demonic where this like spirit can move throughout people, and Denzel Washington is a cop, he's trying to fight it, and the end just has this, you just can't expect it, you know, and like to watch it's something to be able to watch somebody's reaction to the end, whatever it is. Like it could be great, it could be awful, it could be a twist that falls flat on its face, but it ruins the movie. It could make the movie great. And it's a must see if you are a horror or like this summer camp genre feel. Oh God, what the one with Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler and Bob Belcher?
Wet Hot American Summer.
Yes, like if you are a fan, this is that with some kills.
Killing.
Yes, like, and so if you are a fan of that, and even like the score that doesn't match up, and it's like things that aren't quite appropriate because they were maybe trying to punch above their weight here, but then they were definitely punching above their weight in a completely different category. Yes, I completely agree.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, that about wraps us up for. Nope, it doesn't.
Sorry, I just want to say, how do we get a number 2 out of this? That's all. I'll leave that here. And that's a perfect segue into next week, I assume.
Well, so here's the gist of it. So I'm gonna break down all the Sleepaway Camp movies for you real quick here.
Okay.
Not break them down, but kind of describe to you their existence.
Okay.
There is Sleepaway Camp 2.
Yep.
There is Sleepaway Camp 3.
Yep.
There is Return to Sleepaway Camp, which goes back to the original formula, which I haven't actually seen.
Okay.
There is also because I bought the Sleepaway Camp. I wish I had it so I could show it on camera. It's the Sleepaway Camp Survival Kit. It's like a full DVD collection. It's like the fancy box set that they released for it a while back. And it has on it a roughly shot Sleepaway Camp 4 that was supposed to be made before Return to Sleepaway Camp, but never actually got done. But I have a DVD of the footage that they did do.
Dang.
Which is interesting, and I've never watched that either. So I'm not 100% sure which ones we're gonna hit and which ones we're not. We only have so many weeks in June, but we are definitely going to be watching Sleepaway Camp 2 next week because I think you need to see where Angela goes from here.
What happened? How do we get a number 2?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question. Well, that about does it for us here on the Night Shift. I am a horrible host. My name is James, and this guy is...
I'm Cody.
And you know what? We're just saying, thanks for stopping in.